So I wanted to make just a very short video, just to prepare you for the settings that are for the exams and how they differ from the homework assignments. So for the typical homework assignments, you've had unlimited time and you've been able to have multiple attempts at answering the question. The idea was that if you spend the time on it, there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to have 100%. And that's my expectation. If you don't have the time, I mean, we all have various things that we try to do and we can't do everything. So, that's the way it is. But the exam is slightly different. So for the exam, what we have here are 75 questions. So those questions are scrambled. I'm giving you 240 minutes total to do it. So that would mean 4 total hours. Now, I am, in full disclosure, allowing you to submit things after June 6th, but there is a quite hefty deduction for each day that you are late. Try not to do that. You're then unnecessarily losing points. You know that it's 4 hours. You still have 6 days to do everything. You still have the time to make sure things are done. Now, the questions again are scrambled, so you can see the chapter questions in any order. But then I also want to point out a few changes I just made today, just because no one has taken the exam yet, and I just want to make my overall goal this summer for this course is that people are learning the material, and part of that is investing the time in it. So I'm giving you 240 minutes. That's a lot of time for 75 questions. I don't know, get out my handy dandy calculator here, right? That's giving you, on average, 3 minutes a question. If you were just to go and get it done. I don't believe, you don't have any ability, I think, to close it out or like to pause the exam. So you would need to make sure that you have some uninterrupted time to do this exam. I know that might be hard for some of you, but it's the only way I can make sure that at least everyone's abiding by that 240-minute time period. Hopefully there's more than enough time in there that you wouldn't take 3 minutes for every question. Now, this is what I would consider an open book, open notes exam. Any of the materials on LaLima would be available to you, of course. And again, the way that I'm organizing this in LaLima, if you're looking at this, is under the lectures tab. And under the lectures tab, you're seeing each of the lectures with the 3 materials, the chapters that came from the publisher, my video presentation of them, and then a scan of the paper notes that I'm kind of drawing on there. So you would actually obviously have access to those. But then what I also did too is, because the ebook is something that all of you are relying on, you will still have ability to access the ebook while you're doing the exam. So that can help you kind of look up things. Now, I'm not allowing you access to hints, which is something that you did have access to while you were doing the homeworks. But, and this is important for you, those of you who are trying to act strategically here, I am allowing you a check your work option. You can do it 1 time per question, but each time you use it, it's going to take away 10% of the points from that individual question. So let's say, for instance, here, it looks like here each question is being marked worth 10 points. That would take away a point. Basically, you would use it if you really have spent a lot of time on the question. You're down to 2 options and you don't know which of the 2 it's going to be. That would be the perfect time to use it. You wouldn't want to use it on every question, because then all you're doing is changing 4 options to 3 options and hoping that some of the time the option you choose is correct. But to check your work, I anticipate that everyone would probably use it at least once or twice. I don't anticipate anyone will abuse that. check your work option. And then obviously you won't have the ask the instructor option. When you complete the exam, it's not going to show you any feedback. Just know that it has been submitted. What I then do is I review over the exam and how people performed. Were there any questions that I should have asked that were not appropriate, like that we just didn't talk about at all, or were just too difficult? If everyone gets a question wrong, it's not a good question, obviously. And I would go in then and correct that. And just in full disclosure as well, the class average that I'm aiming for here is an 80% average on the exam. If we don't meet that 80% average and there's a normal distribution of scores, then what I do is I add what's popularly known as a curve, but basically I add points to everyone's exam to make the class average be 80%, which is the cutoff between B and C. Now, the other thing that you would want to do to prepare yourself for the exam, and this is important, is that for the exam, you won't have access while you're doing the exam to your Chapter 1 responses, for instance. So let me try to see if I can see it your way. And there we go. Yeah. So what I probably would want to do if I were you would be I'd want to either have notes taken for these assignments of like the questions and what the things are, where they're organized, or I would go in and I would print questions, try to create PowerPoints perhaps, or I'm sorry, a PDF of the documents. You would want to take some notes based on what the correct answers are for the homeworks, because you're not going to have access to the homeworks while you're taking the exam. Okay, so I hope that helps prepare you for this first exam. And again, that first exam is covering just chapters 1, 3, and 5, including the appendices to 1 and 3, but that's obviously not the focus of the questions. The focus of the questions is on the chapters themselves, with very few questions on the appendices. Okay, so take your time on the exam. I'm giving you more than enough time to complete it, but make sure that you have that uninterrupted time to complete the exam.